completely overrun with bees. So,
The only thing
Jim, you are getting a little back there.
No, not a lot. But we're getting some around south.
So are they putting a little nectar up, or are they just building wax?
They're putting
Both wax in?
not a lot.
Just a little bit.
Not crazy.
Well, heck, anything more than negative is a good thing right now.
The northern ones out of Great Bay for is very good.
Well, they keep so much of that mode out there. There's
tomorrow.
Yeah, they were trying to get.
So we do have Saturday day here at the college, or yeah, over behind the college here. We have our morning in the bee yard. So if you're interested in coming out and learning a little about bees, come on out Saturday morning. How early are you gonna start, Jim?
8:30, the time is listed, that's the last email that went out.
Okay. So 8:30 over at the bee yard here on Ridge Road. So Monday around 10, Jim.
Around, anybody wants some mentoring, please put your name on here, take a card. If I don't call you, call me. And if somebody has a pen to donate, I forgot to bring one. So, could you, if you want that, just pass it on. Okay. Well, that's why you need it.
Well, that's why I'm here.
All right.
If I can get
That's
someone
how I'll get you
to
to
put
do
some bees on my property.
Okay.
So, the other thing I wanted to mention, and some of you have a little trouble following this because it's kind of new, especially if you're new here. At Great Bay, we have a great relationship with that business out there, and they let us squat on their property and keep hives. And they let us do a beehive rental program. And for 4 or 5 years now, we've been renting stands out so the average person that can't have bees at their house or their condo or their apartment can have bees and keep them out there at Great Bay. And we just charge a single fee that's not very much per year. And like I said, we've been doing it about 5 years, but we're really full out there. In fact, we're probably a little overfull. So we're gonna need to close that down because we just can't keep putting more and more bees out there. It's a big piece of property, the bees, but the bees still need place to forage and survive. And they're having to work really hard out there to get anywhere or anything done. So if you know of someone with a large piece of commercial property that would be willing to share and is interested in helping the bee and the bee community out, put them in contact with us or put us in contact with them or do whatever. Where we could put bees on their proper safely, where there wouldn't be bees in everybody's food. So we've talked about that. So they ended up renting or sponsoring a hive from us for the year. So big kudos to them. So we went down there and had our business meeting there and gave them their honey for the meeting. And we were also hit up by a company called
No Before.
No Before. I always get it wrong. This is a computer company, or a company in Pinellas, and what they do is
They do IT security, like they do simulated phishing attacks for companies and kind of help companies beef up their internet security. I work for Subaru of America. Our headquarters is in southern New Jersey, and our IT department uses them. We get simulated phishing attacks in my email every once in a while, and when I report it instead of click it, I get a big, there's a big banner that says no before, so I know that my company's using it.
Did you tell if they start out with a banner, you'd do much better on that test? Because you know to click on, not click on it. But so surprisingly enough, I didn't realize how big the company was. They've got hundreds and hundreds of employees. And then last year was their 11th year. So for their 11th year, they contacted us and they said, hey, we want to do something for the community. We want to help bees.
And he found that bee larvae can function at a 2-degree higher temperature than mite larvae. So when the hive gets hot, the mites die off and the bees don't. Okay? So that's what part of that was about. And if you want more of that or copies of it, that's all in the American Bee Journal. If you subscribe to it, by all means get it.
But I believe one of the things you can do to help your hive, especially Derek, you can get 12 answers with just asking Derek.
Thanks, John.
But he has been doing this a while, I will give him that. One thing I think you can really do to help your hives, and that's not just be a bee haver, be a beekeeper, and be in and check your hives, is I really think a entrance reducer changes a lot of the dynamics in your hive. It makes it easier for the few guard bees. There are 13, 14 inches wide at the bottom, maybe a little more. You definitely want to reduce it down through a smaller hole. It'll slow them down a little, but it'll slow everything else down. Yes, sir.
Is government on the number of bees that you have in your hive?
I mean, so if I had a really small nook or a really small box that I put in them there, I would probably make it a smaller one. But at least if you knock it down to about, I'm talking about just 1.5 inches slot in the front of that whole hive is really plenty unless you've got a boiling box. And if you have a boiling box, most of the time, and I get her to correct this if I'm wrong, when you start noticing deformities in the bees and the wings and all that, it's usually a mite issue. Am I right? So if you're seeing that, your problem you've let get carried away. You really need to check your bees and check your bees for mite counts. Now this Saturday, we're going to do some mite counts. Derek's going to do a powdered sugar roll, and Jim's going to do a couple alcohol rolls, and that's just checking for mites. And if you're a person that says, well, I don't have any mites, you're probably also a person that's never checked your bees. So the heat's pushing it up.
I can honestly see hives that look like they're thriving, and a day later could be dead on the ground, and that's a mite issue. It's most often when you see your bees doing.
She said, I've gone in a hive, and a couple days later walked by the hive and go, so this was a nice hive. When you pop the lid on it to the brood box, all the frames had bees on top of them. All down in between all the bees, frames had bees on them. You couldn't ask for a prettier box of bees. And 2 or 3 days later, you're finding just dead bees everywhere, and you open it back up, and there ain't enough bees to make 2 handfuls out of it.
Yeah, I have a question.
It happens.
Sometimes we don't have the answer. No, I've had some storms too that have been up. I just had 2 today that I went out to watch them rain. Yeah, so I actually, if it's a brand new storm and you know it's really, really white cold, put an entrance reducer, I'm sorry, an entrance excluder.
That sugar water will not get touched day in and day out. They'll you go through a quart or 2 quarts a day, and it's just amazing. You can watch the level go down in the bottle. Watch the level go down. And as soon as a flow starts, they will not touch that sugar water, and they're out the door to go get good groceries. The sugar water will keep them alive. They don't want nothing to do with it long term. So,
So Johnny, are you in favor of just keep feeding until they stop taking it?
at least keep feeding it.
But most of it's got an amber look. The sugar water, unless you're feeding something with this color to it, you're going to see that it's sugar water.
So I'll follow up on that. So the white caps, is that?
Probably sugar water. Now, some of the orange blossoms get really nice white caps too, and some of the palmettos really white. But if you're feeding them sugar water and you're seeing.
Mr. Ed Fox was gracious enough to stay. You took that position, or you just did it for tonight? You took the position, right?
I am looking for people who would like to get involved and help over time. I will make sure it happens.
So he wants some help too. He doesn't want to be an island.
I vote the chips on the right. Indeed. But really what I want to know is what you guys want this to look like.
The cheap shameless plug is, you can always join the club. I think it's $15 a year. We just started out the first of the year, so we're not too far into it, but join the club, help us out, volunteer. We can have all kinds of fun here. So
You can even join the club by scanning this QR code right here on your phone right now, and it'll take you right to the place where you can join the club.
see, this stuff's got way over me. Yes.
And as you keep going, I can tell you next year how to get into the state fair for free. I'll tell you more later.
Okay, so it is 7:30 or close.
It's 7:30. Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, I got my little timekeeper over here. She's doing a great job. For those of y'all that just came in and weren't here at the beginning, once again, I'm Johnny Walker, the president of the Pinellas Beekeepers Association. This is Todd Truby, the vice president of the organization. Here's our secretary.
Hello.
And I think everybody else is out working at the desk.
I'd like to mention.
Yeah, she's our state beekeeper for this area, and she's not near as bad as her bite. She's got a bad bark, but her bite ain't. She's a little dog when it comes to that. Don't ask her husband about that. She does a great job, Becky. So if you have bees, you do need to be registered with the state. Get with her about them. It's not the fact that so you can have bees. You're registering your bees, and she's checking the health of your bees. So there's more to it to learn than that. It's $10 a year for 5 hives.
Yeah.
And so it's not expensive. She comes out and visits you and inspects your bees and yada yada, and she'll go through with it. And for once in government's overhaul, she's you don't get as much government as this precious little insect to us. We ask you to be with us and bless us as we learn. In your name, amen.
Amen.
All right. Do we have any other announcements? I didn't get no sheet or nothing.
You got it.
So we're running rogue.
The
Okay.
biggest thing you already mentioned was the great day announcement.
That's what I was going to ask. So, real quick for you that have just came in and weren't here earlier, we have a Bee Day Saturday here behind the college. Come join in, hold a frame of bees, possibly see a queen. We're going to do powdered sugar rolls for mites and an alcohol wash. Dig around the hive and see what we can see. Usually you'll see some babies being born and a queen running around and no telling what all. Maybe the swarm in a tree again. You never know when that's going to jump up there. So come on. When you're in Africa, they don't call them Africanized bees because that's where they are. But when they get over here, they're like, oh my gosh, these are horrible bees. And Derek's like, no, these bees are really nice over here. What are you all talking about? So that's why our bees don't really upset him at all when he comes to work with just his shorts and flip-flops on. But,
No, wait, those are the ants.
yeah, the ants are the problem we have. We do have ants. So we have the great
On what they call leveling up, right? Going from a hobbyist to a sideliner or commercial. And this is something that I've done recently. I started a little over, this is my 3rd year beekeeping, and I started in 2000, right before the pandemic started, with my 16-year-old daughter. We went to the state fair, Ed, and we saw beekeeping exhibit, and we both wanted to do beekeeping. And of course, when your 16-year-old daughter wants to do something with dad, then you do it. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's beekeeping, and it's fun. I mean, I wanted to do it too, but if she wants to do it, all the much more fun for both of us. So we started beekeeping, and I started with 1 hive in March, and then I got a 2nd hive in April, and then I split one of them in May, so I had 3 hives for most of that year. Later that year, I started doing a few removals. I had maybe 4 or 5 hives at the end of the first year. The start of the 2nd year, I had 5, and then shortly after 10, and up to 20. And that year, I started selling nukes. I sold some honey. I started doing more removals. the second year beekeeping, I did keep score on a spreadsheet, like it wasn't really accounting software or anything, but I kept track of my income and expenses. I probably made about $5,000 net profit beekeeping in my second year beekeeping, which is not bad for a hobby. I mean, it not only paid for itself, it gave me a little bit of extra cash, right? And then the third year, so this year I manage anywhere from 20 to 30 hives. I have a full-time job too, so I'm not a beekeeper, I'm just a hobbyist that sidelines with beekeeping. I've got, I set up an LLC, I have beekeeping liability insurance for removals, I sell honey, I sell nukes, do removals, and I have a business plan with the help of one of the mentors from SCORE, and my goal is to make about $10,000 as a sideliner this year. So I have gone through the leveling up kind of the hard way, but we've got some things that we're working on with the University of Florida Bee Lab. They're working on a grant. Further ado, I'd like to introduce our speaker, Joe Fernandez.
I think hopefully you can hear me. My voice is really going. I've been doing so many workshops and webinars lately. I'll tell you a little bit about who we are in a second. But thank you. I'm very appreciative of being here. I know well the mentor that Todd worked with. She's the one that asked me if I could come here tonight because we work very closely together. There's about 40 of us. And I'll say a little more about that.
Can you hold the mic closer? Can't hear you.
How's that?
Yeah.
Is that better? I'm trying not to balance two things. I can take it in handle, but then I got this too, so you know what? I think I might do that anyway because okay, now I can wander around. I'm ants in the pants. Talking to Nancy the other day. I can't stand still. So let's talk a little bit about, if you're at the hobby stage, all the way up to your deep business doing this, what are some of the things you need to be looking at? But first, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I also work for private equity investment companies. These are the ones that do things like buy companies like Twitter. And believe me, that's not muscle money. And I have, as I mentioned, been a small business owner myself for time. As Todd mentioned, I volunteer for SCORE. SCORE is the largest volunteer organization in the U.S. We are supported by the Small Business Administration. Our mission is to help foster the success of small businesses in our local areas. I belong to the chapter here in Pinellas County. We have over 50 volunteers here in Pinellas, and we have 10,000 volunteers throughout the country. I will make one slight correction to what Todd said. We have not been the Service Corps retired executives for many years. As a matter of fact, in our instructions when we come in, it said, don't ever refer to it as the Service Corps, because we actually are way beyond that. That's how it started in the 60s. But today we have people of every age range, people that are working today, that are retired, at every level. And they're here available to help small businesses and people thinking of becoming small businesses. Because we volunteer all our services, and because we have a grant from the Small Business Administration, we can't do all this for free. So what we offer basically is three things. We offer a lot of resources on our website. You can go to our website. You can click on there and see, get questions answered, anything you want answered about business from a very reliable source. Sometimes you Google stuff and you don't know what you're getting when you Google. Second thing we offer is we offer the workshops and webinars I mentioned earlier. Deep dive into one subject, so that could be like 2 hours on how to build a business plan, 2 hours on how, things like that. And the third thing we offer is the mentoring, one-on-one, where you submit a request saying, I have questions about this area, this kind of business. Can you match me up with somebody that can help me? And then we match you up, and you have one-on-one sessions with mentors. You could have one session with Ron, or you can meet with them for years and help you through the entire stage of your business, from just a crazy idea in your head to something that becomes a real business. And you can just go to pinellascounty.score.org to find out more about us. Become something more than a hobby. You want to become a business, you want to make some money at what you're doing, then there's some basic questions you have to start with. You're going to need to appreciate the importance of proper planning. We'll talk about that tonight. And then finally, spur you to take action if you want to do this to improve your odds of success. Because the reality is that small businesses don't succeed automatically. After 1 year, 80% fail. 80% succeed. But only 70% have survived after 2 years. And after 5 years, half of small businesses are out of business. They're gone. So if you want to make a business and you want to be successful, first you need to understand what the odds are, because then what you can do is you can make your mission of improving your odds of success. Now when you see the slide that says 50% of businesses are by doing the kinds of things that we can help you with the score, is improve your odds. Wouldn't it be great if instead of 50-50, your odds were 70-30? And you can do that with proper planning and with some good steps. So first things first. Okay. If you want to set up a business, there's so much to do. I get this all the time. People come to me and said, I've incorporated. I have my EIN number from the IRS. I have a bank account for my business. I set up a website. I'm advertising on Facebook. Okay? I have a logo. I have business cards. I have all that done. And then I ask, okay, so what's your business all about? Well, I'm thinking of this and whatever. I'm trying. Okay. They don't have a business. Okay, this is just stuff. Okay, a lot of people think they've got a business because they've done the stuff. But this doesn't matter until you define your business. Indeed, it could be against what you want once you define your business. You may have this wrong. Something as silly as you may have the wrong name for your business once you really decide what you're doing and define it and spell it out. So I'm here to tell you that this is not what you should be worried about. Okay. You should not be worried about this if you're thinking of turning your hobby into something more than that. Okay. What you have to do, first of all, is before you do this, flesh out your business idea. That means you're going to answer 5 questions. I'm going to talk about each of these 5 a little bit. But the first one is, what problem do you solve for a customer? Too many times we sell things. Okay. Well, there's 1,000 people selling things. There's 1,000 people advertising about selling things. The way you connect with a customer is, instead of saying, I have this product I want to sell you, is, I have this solution to a problem you've got. And it's a little different way of thinking, but it's the thinking that successful companies and successful people do. Why? What problem am I solving for you? How am I going to make your life better? By you buying my product. So think of it in that way first. What problem am I solving? Who is that customer? Not everybody out there wants your product or wants your service or wants anything that you have to offer. So who does? Identify that, because you don't have time to just go out there and hope that everybody in the world wants you or hope that the right person comes to you. You have to know who that person is so you can want to find them. This is a very important one. You have this great idea. You think it's going to sell like crazy. Does the customer think that? I see this all the time. Flavor is disgusting and nobody will ever buy it. Well, you know what? I don't care what either of them thinks. They're not going to be spending money on this. Okay? So it doesn't matter what they think, it matters what the customer thinks. So we'll talk a little bit about how do you know the customer's going to care about what you want to sell. What does the market look like? One of the top 5 reasons businesses fail at every level, small business all the way up to the most gigantic corporations, is they do not understand the market they're dealing with. They do not understand the market in which they're selling their product or presenting their solutions. That's one of the top 5 reasons. And finally, what makes you so special that they should buy your solution to the problem and not that solution to the problem? There's a lot, look at how many people are in here doing what you do. Okay, now, if you all go out here tonight, and tomorrow you all start saying, I'm gonna go into business, I'm gonna sell my product, to the extent that all of you are selling a similar product, how do you distinguish yourself from everybody else? What would make somebody want to come and buy yours instead of someone else's? So let's start with the first question. What problem do you solve? Does your product solve a problem for the customer? If you think in those terms, you're going to think like a customer, not like a salesperson. Right? You don't want to be selling something, you want to be solving something. Who is that customer that you're going to solve this problem for? And why is it a problem to them? Put yourself in the customer's seat. Think like that. Just like in a negotiation, they tell you, think like the person across the table from you that you're negotiating with, you do the exact same thing here. Think like the person that you're trying to sell to. What is it they're looking for? What is the benefit to them? Too many times I see people selling features. Okay? But yeah, I don't care that the shoe is made with rubber imported from some weird, plant in Malaysia. I don't care. I just care that I'm comfortable, that my back doesn't hurt when I wear that shoe. That's the benefit. But if they insist on selling me the features, and then finally, are they going to pay for this? Oh, this is a wonderful product, customers love it, whatever, it's $10,000 a piece. Okay, for a pencil? I don't think so. So you've got to understand that however great your solution is, there's got to be, number one, market and demand for it, solving the problem, and number two, it's got to be something that they can afford. Or at least relative to the benefit of this. Second question is, who's your target customer? Well, what customer segments are you targeting? You're not going to target everybody. And this is different for everybody. Different, that could be one way some of you differentiate yourselves from others. You target a different market. Which, just as importantly, which customers are you not going to target for this product? Which ones are you not going to waste time talking to? Because you can waste a lot of time and a lot of money talking to people that don't want to hear you or don't care about what you have to say. That's why you have to identify who are you solving the problem for. Because that's who you want to talk to. Your resources are limited. Okay? If you're gonna have, say, $20,000 in sales, you don't have a lot of money to be spending out there talking to customers. You don't have a lot of money to spend. So you want to spend it talking to the right customers and not wasting it on 90 people who don't care. Are they going to value the solution? You've got this great solution, you've got this great product, but they don't care. And here's an interesting one as you're thinking about it. It's less of an issue here, but it's one that we talk about when we talk to people about starting a business. Is the user of the product or service the same one as the customer? For instance, if you were making toddler clothes, do you target the toddler? You target the mother, you target the grandmother. That's who your target customer is, even though that's not the user of the product. Okay. Like I said, it's less of an issue here, but it's a very relevant consideration. Now, here we go. How do you know they care? There's a concept that we've got. You guys are in a good position to test, and that is validation. You've got to get out there and ask real customers what they think. Okay? That's who you're doing your research with. This is what big corporations do. This is what little companies do. This coupled with the tea, what we decided was, I don't know if it's a good flavor, but one of you thinks it's great, the other one thinks it's terrible. So why don't you make some up? And then go out to the, flea market. Go out to a pop-up store. Go out to a farmer's market. And start serving it, start selling it. It doesn't have to be the exact final product you got, but you can make a reasonable approximation and go out there and test it. Ask real customers, okay? Share that idea, present it to them, and ask them what they think. And by the way, this is not your family. This is not your friends. That's right. Why not?
Because they'll tell you what you want to hear.
Because they'll tell you what you want to hear. That's exactly right. They love you. They don't want to make you cry. They want to support your dream. Okay? And secondly, and this is true sometimes too, they may not be your target customer anyway. You're selling baby clothes and all your family, you're asking your grandmother and, or you know, who knows, whoever, there are no babies in your family. You know. Then get out there at the flea market or at the farmer's market and test some different options, some different flavors, some different styles, different labels, different anything, and see what they tell you, okay? You can sell it online. You can sell it on pop-ups. Go to Etsy. You can have an Amazon store. You can open your own website. And there's things that you can start saying, let me try. And in your case, it's a perfect product to be selling physically at a lot of pop-up locations. Now, what are they telling you? Oh, this is terrible. I hate that drink. The husband wins. Okay, or, my gosh, this is the greatest thing. I've never tasted anything like this. She wins. But it's not a winning situation, it's a business win. Because now they're not going to waste their time on something that nobody's going to buy, and they're going to concentrate on things that are going to succeed. The market research gets done before you jump in, so that you know that you really do have a viable product here that is in demand. So after you get that feedback and reviews, what does that tell you? Tell me I'm not going to make this flavor, okay, but I still think I got a good idea here, so are there 2 or 3 other flavors I can try? And then try the new flavors. Put your new item out there and then go out and do it again. And this is something that I see many small businesses fail because they don't do this. They have a great idea, they have no idea if there's a demand for it. It's their great idea. And the next thing you know, they've rented 1,000 square feet at Largo Mall, and they've bought $10,000 worth of advertising on Facebook, and they've done all this, and nothing happens. Crickets. The time to know that is before you do all that. Okay, what does the market look like? Well, that starts by identifying who your competitors are. Who are the competitors for your product? Because if you're solving this problem, it means that problem exists out there. It means those people have to have that problem solved, and it means they're going somewhere to solve it. Because the majority of people aren't sitting back at home with that problem and doing nothing about it. So who's solving that problem? And who are direct and indirect competitors? And this is something that I think not a lot of thought, you could probably come up with some good ideas here. But if I said that I'm Domino's Pizza, okay, who are my direct competitors? Pizza Hut? Hungry Howie's, right. Who are indirect competitors? Chinese delivery?
Frozen pizzas?
Well, frozen pizzas I almost would think, but yeah, that's right, they straddle the line. McDonald's? You know who else they consider a competitor? Uber Eats. Domino's Pizza delivers. How many people remember that slogan? Okay? They consider anybody who delivers a competitor. A few months ago, I remember in awe watching on TV, the commercials were up against the food delivery people. That's who they were advertising against. Okay? And I'm sitting there going, it makes all the sense in the world to me. Because that's anybody who's getting food delivered should be looking at Domino's in their head. Okay? Because we're delivery experts. So any dollar being spent with Uber Eats is a dollar out of Domino's hide, is the way they look at it. So they consider that a competitor. And that's where you need to be creative. Start thinking about how you position your product in terms of who are you competing against? What are the choices that customers have to solve their problem? Then investigate and research those competitors. What do you know about them? Okay, what do they offer that's good or bad or different? And that's called a SWOT, S-W-O-T. Okay? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And by the way, if you'd like a copy of these slides, I can have a PDF of them emailed to you if you sign up for it before you leave tonight. Okay, so I'll be happy to do that. It's just that we don't like to kill trees by printing all these things out. So, plus we're a volunteer organization, so we don't have resources. We're very limited. But we'd be glad to send you a PDF of this entire presentation. But you need to do a SWOT analysis. And then you need to do it for yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what opportunities and threats does that pose? Too many times when we look at a competitive product, we look to see what's wrong with it. You go, oh, I had that the other day. New restaurant opened up in St. Pete a few weeks ago called Portillo's. I don't know how many of you saw it. I'm from Chicago. It's a Chicago hot dog place. I know Portillo's for 30 years or 40 years. I'm there. They don't have to do any advertising to get me there. Okay. But I also have, for the last 15 years or 20 years, I've been going to this place in Largo called Bruce's Chicago Deli whenever I have an urging for a Chicago hot dog, which is what Portillo's does. Okay. So I went to Bruce's the other day instead of to Portillo's, and I was coming from Bradenton. So Portillo's would have been a shorter drive or a closer drive. But I went to Bruce's. Okay. Partly because Portillo's has been like this to me right now for the first few times I've been there. Growing pains and everything else, obviously they've been open for 3 weeks. But I went to Bruce's. And I've known Bruce for a while. But Bruce spent a lot of time talking about everything that Portillo's was doing wrong. Okay? They're a terrible place. They don't sell Vienna hot dogs. They're owned by Warren Buffett, which they're not. But they're owned by Warren Buffett, and they're owned by a company that's named Berkshire Investments, but that's not Warren Buffett's. So that's a rational mistake. Okay? So that he's not out in the field, not whatsoever. But they are owned by an investment firm. They're not owned by Dick Portillo anymore. They're losing the total to all of that. So therefore, by implication, he's better. And he's very good. And I made the trip out there. I made the trip. Okay. But that's what we generally fall on. We fall on looking at the competitor and saying, this is what's wrong with it. So therefore, I don't have to worry. I got news for you. Those guys, part of the reason I didn't go there is they're so darn busy right now. I mean, the lines and all this other stuff, whatever, they're doing probably more business in an hour than Bruce does in a week. Okay? They must be doing something. Okay? So we need to concentrate not just on the weaknesses, because those are opportunities to us, but we need to concentrate on what they're doing right, because that's the threat. Okay? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and then do your own analysis of your strengths, weaknesses, and what opportunities and threats that poses to your competition. And finally, ask yourself, we identified all these problems that we're going to solve. How well do these guys solve those exact same problems? If I identified 5 problems I'm going to solve for my customer, all right, how well do these guys solve all of these 5 problems? Because now you know where you stand. You know what the market looks like. Remember, one of the top 5 reasons businesses fail, small businesses fail, is not understanding the marketplace. And then finally, why should the customer consider your solution? What makes you special? One exercise is to say, here's the problems that I've identified. Never mind what I'm doing, never mind what anybody else is doing. What would be a perfect solution to all of these problems? If I could invent anything and I had unlimited resources and I could give it away for free, whatever, what would be the perfect solution? Now write that down and then ask yourself, how well does my solution match that perfect solution? Where am I short? Where am I lacking? Where am I not getting to answer the question the customer wants? Where am I not getting them the benefit? And that gives you an opportunity to say, I can improve this. Or, you know what, I don't want to solve that problem, I'll concentrate on these other 3 problems. And that's important because your solution needs to address every single problem that you identified. So if you identified 5 problems you're going to solve, then you better solve all 5 of them. And if your solution does not solve all 5 of them, then you've got 2 choices. One of them, find a way to solve it. Second solution, take that problem off your list. But don't kid yourself. Don't put problems in there you're not going to solve, because it's going to screw up your entire plans. It's going to mess with your marketing. It's going to confuse you and your people. And finally, and this is important, how can you differentiate your solution, your business, your product from what the other ones are doing? In other words, what's your competitive advantage? What makes you better? Is it the price? Is it the taste? Is it the skills you bring to bear? Do you have patents? Do you have endorsements? Are you innovating in some way? What makes you have an advantage over that? And then that advantage has to be something that can't be copied easily, or that they can't just go and buy and have it tomorrow, because then it's not an advantage to you anymore. I don't know if you remember this, but 2 years ago when COVID was hitting and a lot of stuff started coming out to deal with COVID, one of the things I thought was pretty cool was this little T-shaped thing, you know, that you use to open doors, and so you wouldn't have to touch it. Okay, I was like, hey, that's a pretty cool idea. I went on Amazon, there were 42 people selling that already. That thing got knocked off faster than I think the first person to put it out there. So now it's just a commodity. It's just whoever sells it cheapest. And you don't ever want to be the one who's the cheapest, because all anybody else has to do is just go one penny lower than you, and now they're the cheapest. So you've lost any advantage. So if it can be copied or bought easily, when my wife and I went into business, we went into a business, that was a retail business, and we said, we don't want to compete with Walmart or Amazon. All right, so what can we offer to distinguish ourselves that Walmart or Amazon will not do, will not invest in, don't know how to do? Okay. And if we could not figure that out, we knew the problems we wanted to solve, okay? But if we could not figure out how to do it in such a way that we had a competitive advantage, we wouldn't have done it. Okay. And we did for 14 years, and we were very successful, and our business sold for a nice price. But we always, from the very beginning, had that in our head. If we could not have that competitive advantage, we would not be doing it. And it had to be a competitive advantage. Like I said, they're not willing to, they cannot do it, they can't afford to do it, whatever reason, they're not going to do it. And we were right. Okay. How long can you protect it? That's the other reality. If it really is something that stings your competitors, okay, then they're going to go after it. They're going to try to nullify it, which means they're going to try it to buy it. They're going to try to copy it. And the longer you can protect it, the better off you are. Can you make it even more attractive? Or what can you do over time? Because as they're starting to close the gap on you because they're matching you on that advantage, you can open up a bigger gap by making it a bigger advantage or a better advantage. And this is the red one. Do you have any disadvantages competitively? Because you've got to work on them now. You don't work on them after you're in business. You don't wait until you find out that you bring out this great product and the next day 20 more people are doing it on Amazon. That's what's known as your unique value proposition. You bring it together into a single statement. Domino's Pizza delivers. Fresh hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less. That's 5 seconds. Domino's gives you the entire philosophy right there. So if you can do something like that, your unique value proposition, a bundle of benefits from the customer's perspective that summarizes why your customers want to do business with you. In other words, what makes you different, what makes you better, and what makes you work. Okay, because one of the things, the reality is, very, very few people have no competition out there. I can't think of any. If I get a client comes to me and says, I don't have any competition, this is a great idea, I just have to Google and I'll find 10 people doing something pretty much like they're already doing. Invariably, anybody comes to me and says, I don't have any competition, I think we're going to have a very difficult relationship. Okay, so I got these answers. Now what do I do with it? Well, you need a business plan. It's that simple. I heard Todd mention that. He did a business plan. Okay? That's what you need. Every business needs a business plan, and I don't care where you are on that scale that I showed earlier, the stage, life stage of the business. Every one of those needs it. It's a written document that has all the important details of what you want to accomplish. And the written word is important. If it's not written, you don't have a plan, period. I don't care that it's in your head or whatever else. Sorry. Okay? If it's not written, it's not a plan. Written brings reality to it. You've got it on paper. It forces you to face it. Forces you to prioritize. It forces you to analyze. Okay. So if it's not written, if it's in your head, then it's swimming in there with all sorts of other ideas and getting cloudy, and it's not going to get done. It accomplishes basically 3 things. It describes your business proposition. It defines a message and a marketing plan, and it projects the funds you're going to need. I don't care whether it's $1,000 or $100,000 or $1 million. If you want to go into business, you're gonna need money. You're gonna have to invest in something. Okay? You're gonna have to buy advertising. You're gonna have to buy, equipment. You're gonna have to buy all sorts of things. Supplies. How much you need to know before you start. Because I see a lot of one of the other top 5 reasons for business failure is running out of money. Not enough funds. Okay? And when you put a business plan together, it forces you to put a projection of what you're going to need. You come out, I had a client, we started out, and after he started his business, he came to me and says, I asked him, how much do you think you're going to need? And he says, well, probably $40,000. 3 months later, after we went through a huge financial projection, he's going for a $250,000 loan. Now, if he had started with $50,000, he'd have been out of business. And no bank in the world would talk to him to give him more. Why? Because he's failed at that point. They first ask him, well, you only needed $50,000. How can we trust your projections now when you came to us before and with those projections? And by the way, you're failing now. Why would we want to throw money after that? Where, if he had those projections right, he would have had $250,000 up front. So it's very important to know. Now, with all of this information, you can ask yourself, okay, is this feasible? Can I really make a business out of this? And this is where a lot of people get stopped. They look at it and go, you know what? No. I have a glorified hobby, which is fine. But if you have more aspirations than that, and by the way, the IRS hates hobbies. Okay, so if you want to pretend you got a business, but what you really have is a hobby, the IRS will be all over you. And they actually use the word hobby. Okay. So you need to determine, is this business feasible? And the way to do that is with a business plan. So no matter what stage you're in, like I said earlier, you need a plan. I've had clients come to me who've been in business for 5 years, and in those 5 years, they have never, ever made a dime. And they have put in tens of thousands of their own dollars, and they have made nothing, and they still are making nothing, and they never had a plan. And they still don't have a plan. So, we sit down, and we put a plan together. One of those clients was, I seem to get all the drink people, but this one was making a tea. Okay, a bottled tea. Okay, bottles just like Snapple kind of bottles. It wasn't making anything after 4 years. So she sat down, put a plan together. We finessed that plan a couple of times. Today, 2-3 years later, she's in Publix and she's in a bunch of other places. Because putting a plan at that point refocused her and recharged her. So no matter where you are in your business cycle, if you don't have one, you need to sit back and do it. And in addition to that, you have your startup business plan. A year later, you're established. You need to redo your plan. A year after that, you're starting to make some money. You need to redo your plan. Every business should be redoing their plan every year. Now, I know what you're saying. You're kidding. Okay? A business plan? It's too hard. I don't have time for this. Okay? It's all in my head already. It's useless. I know what I'm doing. Or, I don't know how to do this. Okay. Those are 4 of the reasons most often given, but they're valid to a point, but not enough that you shouldn't do this. Remember, this is what gets you to the black side of the 50-50 circle. This is what makes your odds 70-30, 80-20, instead of 50-50. The majority of people on that red side of the circle are the ones that never did this. So if you want to join them, that's fine. Remember, the goal here is to improve your odds. You're never going to have perfect odds, just like in life. There's no guarantees. Okay. But you want to improve, and this is the number 1 route to do that. Now the good news is, and I'll make a pitch for us at SCORE. We have a 1-page business plan available that we can teach you, that we can offer to you. We have a webinar on that, a workshop on that. And it basically answers the questions we've just said. Remember we said it has to talk about what your business is all about, then it has to discuss your marketing, and then you need a financial plan. And by answering these 12 questions on this one sheet of paper, you've got yourself everything you need for you to get out there and start your business. You can answer with these questions answered here whether you really do have a true business opportunity. You can always hear me say, you need a plan. Now, just real quickly, we have a series of webinars available for free. And again, this is all free. I'm a volunteer. We don't take money for any of this. This is all to benefit the business community. For any of you who are interested in becoming a business person, turning your hobby into a business, then these are the 4 things you need to look at. And they're actually all coming out this next month, because we don't generally do most of these live every month. But they're all coming out. Business Startup Basics. This talks in more depth about several of the items I introduced here today and many more. We have the fast one-page business plan. That's the one-page business plan I can show you. We have a workshop webinar available. And by the way, all of these are hybrid. They're available at the Greenhouse. Anybody familiar with the Greenhouse here in St. Pete? Okay. They're being offered by we're offering them for the Greenhouse. And they're available hybrid. They're available live. You can go to the Greenhouse live, or you can join us online. We're doing it both ways at the same time. It's a new concept we just started this month. I've done 2 of them already this month, and they've gone up very well. I really like it. Okay. And that's coming up on May 17th. And if you remember, the bottom line of that Lean Canvas was the marketing and then the financial. Now, every one of these is also available on demand right now. So if you're up at 2 in the morning and you can't sleep and you don't want to watch Hulu anymore or whatever, you can tune into this. And you can watch them 4 times. You didn't get it the first time, watch it again. Again, all for free. So now what? Well, again, we're back to, is this your business idea? Is it feasible? Not just a glorified hobby? Well, if it's no, then don't go any further. You don't need all those things I said earlier that people go running to do. Enjoy it, but don't give up your dream. Find new ways to differentiate yourself. Learn more along the way. Okay? Take some courses, take some classes. Prepare yourself for the day when you are going to be ready to do this. But if the answer is yes, you have a feasible business, then go for it. Okay? Take the next step to establish your business, and now all of you would have done, to answer this no or yes question, you'd have to have done at least that one-page business plan. So now, if the answer is yes, then go out there and execute that plan with a vengeance. Just go out there and execute the heck out of it. You're going in with more confidence because you did that. You're going in with higher odds of success. And the way to do it is, this is our website at pinellascounty.score.org. If you want a mentor, then just go at the top where it says find a mentor, just click on there and fill out the request. If you want to see the schedule of workshops, including the ones I've mentioned here, then go to the second tab where it says take a workshop and sign up there for the free workshops and webinars, including the ones that we give for the Greenhouse. Those are on our website as well. Small business clients who receive 3 or more hours of mentoring report higher revenue and increased business growth. That's according to the SBA. And that's why the SBA provides grants to us, because we provide these services. So your odds improve again if you've got help. You need to have a group of people you can trust, a banker, an attorney, an insurance person. You also need a mentor. And that can be formal or informal, but you need somebody you can turn to, or a couple of people you can turn to that can help you with your questions and guide you and bounce ideas off of. Your odds, again, increase when you have that, your odds of success. So thank you. I hope this was a little bit of a help to you all. You got any questions?
So, a lot of my peers are beekeepers as a hobby. Right? So, how would I create a value proposition around, or how would I compete against people that really don't care if they make a profit?
Well, that's a very good question. Right? A lot of businesses are also not-for-profit. The design is not-for-profit, and that's not their driving force. You have to compete the same way. You have to make your product unique enough to be worth it, or you have to differentiate, or you have to analyze the value. You have to analyze the problems that you're solving. I mean, if there's 10 of you at a flea market, let's say, and all of you are selling honey, and 9 of them don't care if they make any money on it, they just want to get rid of their honey, okay? And you want to make a business out of it, then you need to identify what makes you special and different from all of them. And that's what you have to market. And that marketing takes a lot of shape in a lot of ways. It could be the design of your label, it could be the material you hand out, it could be your spiel. What are you telling these people when they walk by? What's your elevator speech? Okay, what's the 30-second speech you give them when they walk by to make them come to you instead of to them? Just like when I go to a home show at the fairgrounds, and there's all these booths, and they're scattered all over the place. So suppose I went there and I wanted a bathroom remodel. Well, they don't have a row of bathroom remodels. They have one on this aisle, they have one on the end of that aisle, they have them all over the place. They do that on purpose. So they make you walk the entire area. You don't stop and say, oh, this aisle is what I want, I don't need to go anywhere else. But then you hear a lot of noise. Which one do I stop at? Okay, as I'm going by them, every one of them is making a spiel. They're all giving me their little pitch to try to get me. Well, I'm not interested in knives. I'm not interested in cosmetics. Those are deaf ears. I'm not even listening to those. But I hear the word bathroom remodel, or I see it, I turn around. And now that guy's got 30 seconds to convince me that I should talk to him more. And that's the elevator speech. How much are you giving them, how much can you tell them about the problem you're solving and the benefits to me to stop in and talk to them? Because the purpose of the elevator speech is not to sell the product, it's to get you to hear more about it so you can sell the product. So you need to come up with something like that. And we talk about elevator speech in the Lean Canvas webinar. Here's why it's important, here's what you do. But you do need to have a marketing plan. That's why the business plan has a marketing plan aspect of it. That's where you need to identify your target customer, because maybe you shouldn't be in flea markets. Maybe for what you want to accomplish, maybe for what some of these other folks want to accomplish, that's fine, but maybe for you it isn't. Maybe your target customer is somewhere else, so you can find a better way to do it. That's what the business plan forces you to do. It forces you to say, my gosh, I'm competing against these people who don't care. Now you can either give up at that point, or you can say, okay, now that I've identified why that's the roadblock, what do I do about it? You don't have to do what they do, but that's why identifying your target customer is so important as well. Yes?
How do you feel about niche businesses?
I feel great about it. I don't think every business has to be a $20 billion business. Not at all. If there is enough of a market out there to make a successful business out of it, then it's fine. Okay? It's like the old story about the guy on the street corner selling pencils for $1 million. And somebody told him, nobody's gonna buy a pencil for $1 million. He says, all I need to sell is one. Okay. Well, he's a pretty niche business. but if he identified that the odds are he will sell one, why not? Yeah. But really, I mean, one of the things you have to do when you do your business plan is identify the market. What is the size of the market? How many people out there want this product? How many people out there can have it? You have to do some research. When you do your projection, the last couple of boxes at the bottom, your financial projection, one of the things you have to do there is you put together a cash flow for 36 months. Every month, you have a cash flow statement projection, every one of them. You're not in business yet. How do you know what you're going to do 2 years from now? You have to do some research. You have to analyze. You have to get data from the industry. You have to do all sorts of things to come out there and say, you know what? Given what I've learned about the size of the market, given what I've learned about the type of prices people pay, given all this, I can reasonably expect to do, $27,000 of business next year. All right, is that enough to make money? Or to make the kind of money you want? It may be for me, it may not be for you. But that's why you have to do the business plan. So you can say, okay, I'm niche. I can only do this much, but that's okay. That works. I can make that. Yes?
First of all, thank you for the basics. This is very important, and people need to ask those questions and answer those questions. So you've done a good job in laying the groundwork. But business is changing radically because of this tool.
Mm-hmm.
And there are several software management packages for beekeepers. Some of them are good, some of them are not so good, but some of them even be on these small little guys that you can carry around, but basically, you wanna have enough data on the hives that you want to manage and see that you not only get profits, which is one of the crucial things you want for your business, but that the bees are healthy, the bees are happy, the bees are getting what they need, and if there's a problem, you get that early warning, red light bell, whatever it takes, as quickly as possible. That means you have to put some kind of measuring devices in the hives so that you get that information back and it's coordinated to a proper algorithm to give you a dashboard to properly manage your hives every single day. And at midnight, if something goes wrong, you know about it and you're out there to fix it.
And?
That's, well,
Welcome to every other business there is out there. They're all the same.
No, but finding the right IT package is what I'm driving at.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even know where to begin to advise on that. I'm not an IT guy to do, but however, the best place, okay, that I always recommend to people is you're sitting in it, okay? I recommend to people all the time, like when they have to project numbers, like we were just talking about. Join the organizations that specialize in it. I've been in the retail food business. I've been in the retail drugstore business. I've been in the shoe store business and in the sporting goods industry. Okay? Every one of them has organizations like this. Some of them are tens of thousands of members. Some of them aren't. But they all have data. They all have experiences. Somebody there has answered that question before you raised it. And that's where you need to go. You want advice on that, then that's who you set
We
as.
have another speaker in the future who will address that for us. And there is nothing that can substitute for paying close attention to what's happening with these. And basically, you can run subroutines in your brain, but it's better if you have the equipment and can afford it to do that for you.
Well, first I'll say I can't do anything about the speakers. Okay, I don't determine who they are, and I'm not going to recommend anything. However, having said that,
To build on what you've done.
but having said that, okay, one of the things that's talked about in the last of those webinars that's there, that the one on protecting the numbers, okay, is how do you put some measurement criteria? Okay, that's a very important thing. What are the KPIs, key performance indicators? Okay, that's the buzzword. Okay, but it's critically important. I could not have run my business that my wife and I own without our KPIs. Every day we measured these 3 things, every week we measured these 4 other things, and every month we measured everything else. So, you're right, absolutely, but that's every business. You have bees, someone else has who knows what, okay? Someone else has, they're selling shoes, okay? Or they're selling something else, or they're providing a service, or they're providing massages, or they're doing whatever. They still have to keep track. They have to keep track of their inventory. They have to keep track of the inventory. They have to keep track on the turns of that inventory. They have to keep track on the sales and all of that. They have to keep track of the customers more important than anything else. So you're absolutely right. There needs to be KPIs, and that's discussed in 2 of those webinars. How are you going to measure? What are you going to measure, and how are you going to measure? And that's unique to each business. I can tell you need to measure. I can tell you need to look and see what are the ones that are most critical that you need to know. Every business, there are 2 or 3 things that if you know how they stand today, you know you're making money. You don't need to look at all 100 things. But every month, you better look at all 100 things to make sure nothing's getting okay. But for you, those 3 or 4 things are going to be different than for me. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you.
Joe mentioned getting a copy of this presentation. We're going to send some sheets around if you'd like. Put your email and get a copy of it. We'll send it to you. If you don't get your name on here, tell me.
What happened to my
I'll get it.
clipboard? Get around?
Yep. Ready to go.
Down there.
I will tell you, if you're thinking about doing business with bees, bee stuff, bee related, honey, you should join this 12-step program now. Don't want to offend anybody, but it is a mental condition. There are people out there that can help you. I got into it about 16 years ago. I tell people I got adopted. They got in the wall of my house and I had to get them out.
Use the microphone.
So I tell people I got adopted 16, 17 years ago. Got them out of the wall of my house into a hive and really haven't slowed down since. I still open a box up on a sunny afternoon and digging through there and pulling out a nice, beautiful frame of brood and seeing some specky little holes in it and watching a bee chew her way out for the first time being born. It's just a neat thing to see every time I see it. I've seen bees, I've seen drones, I've seen queens born, and a lot of other things going in the hive. Every time I do it, it's still kind of like the first time I saw it. It's just really cool and an eye-opening experience. So that's kind of what drives me. I've never had to sell a bottle of honey. And most of the time I can't keep enough to even have honey at my house. I've got people knocking at the door. I got a little stand outside there and they come and knock the door down. There's queen rearing. We got several people here that sell queens. We got a few people here that sell nooks. And they stay pretty busy and they'll tell you how they do it. And they're not worried about you coming and setting up a stand next to them and selling more bees so they can't. It's a pretty unique business, but it's a big wide open door. So don't think you can't do it. Do have some dollars behind you to get into it. It's not a cheap business. Bees are hard to keep alive. If cattle ranchers lost as many of their cattle as we do bees, they would be cow ranchers, not cattle ranchers, because they couldn't keep them alive. So those are things that are really hard to figure into your business plan. But I think reality is about 35% loss every year. Not many businesses can sustain that. You got to work harder and harder to get through that. Just keep your bees alive. You can't sell honey if you can't keep bees alive. So work on getting your bees and keeping them alive for a few years, and then grow into it. Don't dive into the shallow end of the pool. And I hope I haven't started a bunch of questions, but not that we don't have time, but we do have time for the raffle. Since we're doing this online, I was told the tickets have a V on the back if they were given to a volunteer for helping us out. And like I said, once again, I really appreciate our volunteers. We've never done this before. It's something new we did. Not sure we'll ever do it again. Try and volunteer and let's find out. Maybe you'll get maybe you won't. We'll see. But if you do win a prize tonight and you were a volunteer and you got that volunteer ticket, let us know. I think it'd be interesting to know where and how that turned out. And so are we ready?
So we have 531 tickets today. And I think there were 40 some, how many won? 40 given away to volunteers, so all the rest were purchase tickets.
Wow. So the first thing we're going to start out with, because these are new, right?
Those are new. You can exchange that for a different size or color.
So I will let you come up, pick the color up. You can take it back out there and exchange it for a size that might fit you or your significant other or whoever you would like to get a shirt for. I don't have one. I will hold it up just so you can see what it's like. But we're going to do these 3 shirts first.
Johnny, Juanita has a question about the volunteer tickets. If they're not present, do they have to be present to win?
Yes.
Yes. So this is the front. Simple little logo on the front.
$12.92.
And our big lurk on the front, on the rear.
No way.
You know, I'm not a gambling guy, but I could have called this. So what color are you, my dear?
Purple.
I kind of figured you.
Purple's very spiritual.
All right, and that would be you.
You can see I'm trying to be spiritual here.
1763.
Up. about you? You're a yellow color, you're a black. Black. You're welcome. Round and round it goes. Can you see this?
1472.
Senior numbers. 1472.
That's speed.
All right, I'm going to throw with my good arm. It's also a new arm.
Next.
A bee brush or a wallpaper brush.
1414.
1414.
I've got two of them already.
Only two?
Yeah. I tell you, you want it?
A picture with bees on it.
Yeah.
1339.
A jar of honey is next.
From, where's this from, Art?
Where's the honey from, Art? Chili honey. No, it's not cold honey, it's chili honey.
1673.
I think whoever wins this ought to share. And wish it was a bigger jar. What's the next thing on the table? A high stool, red high stool.
A lot of prizes tonight, all these tickets. 1790.
I can throw this.
Can you make a stick?
Oh, wait a minute now. We got a new lucky lady here. What?
1289.
1289. We have a book. I can get it signed for you. I can get this book signed for you. I know the author. I know the author's mother, too.
I always wanted one of these.
She's the luckiest lady.
No, I'm blessed.
Blessed lady. And if you're nice, I can get this autograph for you.
1718.
If you see Linda right there, tell her I said to get it autographed. She has oh, and that was a volunteer ticket. Woo! All right, so the next thing on our
Uncapping scratcher.
capping scratcher. I was walking around with it in my hand. There you go.
1382.
Thank you. This is a date amp 10-inch smoker.
1382.
No, we just gave him the cap. 1275. 1275. You got 1275. You got about 6 smokers, and these things will last a lifetime.
She keeps dropping them off the back of the truck and somebody runs over them.
You got 1275.
1275.
I don't have, I'm not lying, it's mine.
You got it?
Look, baby.
Trust and verify.
I'm sorry.
Here, just carry the rest of this thing back. All right, so the next thing is a can of nuts. That's
1719.
symbolic of this bunch being nuts.
All peanuts.
I don't know what they did here.
Yo, roll my beer.
Derek, was that a volunteer ticket?
Yeah, it's a volunteer ticket.
Another volunteer ticket. Wow, I'm impressed. So the next thing is a capping for a larger group of bees. Scraping the cappings off for extracting honey. 1279. Pardon?
I hit remove on each one. All right.
Here she comes again. Hold on, Johnny. There you go.
You didn't come up before, so I know when you're, so $12.99?
Yeah, y'all, I'm sorry, but I gotta be honest with you and tell you that for the last 3 years, every month she buys $20 worth of tickets, and we added it up. And the smoker she wanted for 3 years that we got cost her $1,100. I added it all up, okay? So you can grow, and she's a B Club treasure, this one. She's had a really
So
big
she could have
birthday.
saved $1,100 if you hadn't ran over the smoker.
It's Becky's fault. It wasn't my fault. I just witnessed it.
That's worth more than a smoker.
Yeah, I know. You just won that? Well, actually she did, but yeah.
This is going into our club.
I won that.
We're gonna use this for the club.
All right.
So did anybody have any ideas or thoughts on our snack bunch? You need to jump with Mr. Fox and let him know before the end of the night?
Pam?
If you like the nuts, they came from Farm Bureau, so you can put nuts on your thing.
Okay, thank you very much. Derek's already ate about half a can. I thank you for taking your time and coming out, especially if you people were just here from picking up a little from Green Thumb and coming out and seeing what we're all about. I hope you all continue to come back. Saturday's a great day. You need to come out, spend a little time. You can learn to do anything if you're taught hands-on, and that's what our B Yard's about. Yes, ma'am. Oh, yes, and if you need bee supplies, hives, suits, gloves, your own smoker, whatever you need, you can order it through D&J, and as long as they get enough orders, they will bring it to the club and save you shipping. That can be quite a bit of cash on several items. So I thank y'all for coming out. Please come Saturday. See Jim, if not on Monday.
Josh, who's the one other? Risto?
I'm going to close the meeting and we're adjourned. Thank you for
Still
tonight.
missing Risto's feet. He hasn't picked up his feet. Does anybody know Risto?